boyfriend is forcing me to let him drive my father's Ferrari and told the whole campus that he's throwing away a party at our house, so my father hired a security and stopped him from fantasizing. I paid for everything all the time. Anytime we went out on a date, I footed the bill. I didn't think much of it because I have so much, and he doesn't, so I thought it was natural and I was just a good girlfriend to foot the bill. I drove him around everywhere. He would often guilt me into getting something for him if he wanted something. Sometimes, this was things like $200 Jordans or $50 for weed for the weekend. I got him a new Samsung Galaxy phone for Christmas. He never brought me anything. Not once. Not even a handmade gift or a small, thoughtful gift. Not even a flower he picked. It didn't need to be elaborate or expensive, but he didn't even get me something to show he was thinking about me. I don't want to try and measure a relationship based on material things, though, so I let that go. He would often tease me and make fun of me for being a spoiled rich daddy girl and for going to an expensive, exclusive private school. He made fun of me because my dad bought me a Mercedes, but he never had a problem with me driving him around in it. He would make fun of me for taking school seriously, maintaining a 4.0, and turning down parties or other things because I had papers to write or tests to study for. He often told me I didn't know what the real world was like because I grew up in a wealthy neighborhood, around rich people, and didn't know what the world was like. He was right about that. I grew up a lot more sheltered than average people and with a lot more. Most people don't get Mercedes for their 16th birthday, ski trips to the Alps, or summer trips to St. Bart's. I know that's not normal. I don't know what normal is, so I took his word that I had a sheltered life, and he knew better about the real world. He introduced me to his friends as his hot, rich girlfriend, which I assumed was supposed to be a compliment. He never said these things in a way that seemed overtly insulting. He always said it as a joke with a smile. So, I trusted that he cared about me, and that this was all just a difference in our upbringing. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was probably naive. Anyway, my dad is wealthy, not like mega-rich billionaire wealthy, but pretty damn rich. My dad owns this Ferrari V12 supercar that he loves. He takes it out to drive a few times a month when he can and usually likes to take it to a local track. He's very protective of that car and doesn't want anyone driving it. He let me drive it once at his track, and I had a race car driver instructor with me, but honestly, I am quite afraid of it. It's really powerful, and there are more cars than I can handle. He saw my dad's car when he was over and asked me if he could drive it. I told him he would have to ask my dad cause it's his, not mine, but I don't think he would let him because my dad doesn't want anyone driving it. Anyway, he left it alone. He brought it up with my dad later, but he said no. My dad said he let me drive it once on a track with a race driver in the passenger seat and didn't trust anyone else to drive it. So my dad went out of town, and now my boyfriend is asking me to let him drive the car while my dad is gone. He keeps asking me where the keys are and if I can just take them for a spin, and I keep telling him no, and it makes me uncomfortable, so he keeps asking. Finally, he got mad at me and called me a B and said I should be supportive of him, that I should understand he doesn't have a rich family and will probably never have this opportunity again, and that if I loved him, I would do this for him. I don't know. I get that he doesn't have another chance to drive this car, but it's just a car, and my dad would be pissed if I let him. Update: my boyfriend texted me about throwing a party at my house while my dad was gone. I said no. I've been to high school ragers, and I know what happens, and I don't want my house trashed. So I told him this, and he gave me a line he often used with me about needing to have more fun. I told him I didn't think cleaning up my dad's wrecked house was fun. He left it alone, or so I thought. I was in school the next day, and one of my best friends approached me. She was rather mad and wanted to know why I hadn't told her about the party first. I was surprised. I told her there was no party and wanted to know where she heard that from, but I knew where it ultimately came from. She told me she had heard from her friend who went to my ex-school and that everyone there was talking about it, and it had spread to this school. I knew it was him, so I called him. He admitted that he had told everyone I was having a rager and started telling everyone this when he was at school the previous day, before he had even asked me about it. I was livid. I told him he had no right to invite his entire school to my house without even asking me first. We got into a big fight about it. Then he told me what he thought of me. NGL. I was sort of devastated to hear this. He called me boring and basic, spoiled and entitled. And now he wasn't joking. He said I had to stick up my ass and needed to learn how to lighten up and have fun. He said I was a daddy girl, and I cared more about grades and impressing my father than anything. He accused me of being Olivia Jade and having my dad buy my way into college. That one stung because I worked hard through high school to get accepted into a good university. And it was also just like what the F cause here, he was making fun of me for working too hard in school and at the same time saying I didn't earn my spot. So which one is it? Anyway, we fought, and he said nasty things to me. Finally, I told him that if I was so bored, he could find a new and exciting girlfriend to drive him around and pay for everything because I was done. I wish it ended there, but I still had this party rumor flying around at least 2 schools. I didn't want to call my dad about this. I wanted to take care of this on my own, take care of him on my own. I didn't want to admit to my dad that I made a really poor choice in dating him. I didn't want to have my dad bail me out the week he left. I wanted to show I was mature and grown up enough to fix this alone, but I just didn't know how to stop all these people from showing up. So I swallowed my pride, called my dad after school, and told him everything. I tried not to cry, but I did. My dad was mad, but he wasn't mad at me. He thanked me for telling him and reassured me that I had done the right thing. My dad called a friend of his at the sheriff's office. This part I feel some kind of way about cause I know how people think about the police right now, and I know that this is something that shows off my privilege. I doubt this would have happened for many other people, but the sheriffs told him they'd post a deputy on our block over the weekend. My dad also sent me a pair of bodyguards for the weekend to ensure no one tried to break in. He said I was allowed to have a few friends over the weekend but keep it clean, no raging parties, of course, no mess etc. You know, standard parent stuff. That week, a few of my close friends stayed with me after school while I cried about all this, and they helped me spread the word that there was no party. Friday came along, and a few of my friends came back home with me after school. We decided we'd do an 80s movie night like I mentioned and put Ferris Bueller on the list. We closed the gate and put up a sign that there was no party. Private security showed up, like my dad said, and we bunkered down for the night and watched many 80s movies. A few people did show up, but they were chased off by the locked gate and the deputy hanging out on the block. We were able to dissuade most of them from showing up. I don't know how many because I stayed inside with my girls, watching movies, and tried to ignore anything happening outside. I felt and continue to feel shitty about it all. First, I feel like I wasted a lot of people's time. I know the police have more important things to do than babysit me in my house from teenagers. I know those bodyguards had more important people to protect than a teenage girl from a party. I know that most people could never manage this. It all drove home just how privileged I am and, honestly, how my ex was right that I do live in a different and sheltered world from everyone else. And then there's the murder of my social life, lol. I'm single now with no date to prom, and I caught a lot of poop from a lot of our mutual social circle over this. I've been called spoiled and basic, snitch, Karen and Becky. Even some of the kids in my school were disappointed. I know many kids in my school who will or have thrown ragers in their parents' houses, so even among some of my friends, I was expected to do so. So, besides my closest friends, I'm pretty much a pariah now. But whatever, in the end, I have 2 months left till graduation, and then I'm out. Next fall, I will start college out of state, which will be behind me. After all this happened, I told my dad how the weekend had gone. I teased him and said, "Wow, Dad, you will go to really great lengths to protect your stuff." And he said he wasn't protecting his stuff, he was protecting me.